the 2,500 citations dating back years and found that 79% of them went to African Americans. That's at tampabay.com. My guest is Tampa City Council member Lisa Montelione. My name is Sean Kinane. You're listening to Midpoint on WMNF 88.5 FM Tampa. It's 12:44 in the afternoon, and we're going to go back to the phone lines right now, and Terry in Plant City is on the line. Hi, Terry.
Yes, they're just about all this. I think it's spot on. Unfortunately, I think the poor police are kind of damned if they do and damned if they don't. The poor lady that had her mother shot in the middle of the night while she was sleeping is up there screaming for, this anti-snitch mentality. Please get over that. You've got to help us rid all these, people from shooting each other up. And that lady's screaming her eyes out. And the police are probably, hoping if they're not getting anybody to snitch, that maybe one of these bicycle stops is going to find that poor lady's killer. So, as I say, I really feel sorry for the cops. They're put in a bad spot. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for that call, Terry. I'm going to go straight to Dan in St. Petersburg. Hi, Dan.
Good afternoon, and there's a lot of good calls here on this issue, and I follow the transportation side as well, sitting on a couple of committees, and I'd like to comment. Go ahead. Comment on the safety issue. And sometimes when people aren't riding with lights and it's dust, some of these guys will play chicken with cars, and it gets very dangerous. So for safety issues, they can kill somebody or hit somebody because they're riding without lights on and going across the road. So I like to sound up a little bit. I'll take my answer off.
All right, thank you, Dan. Do you have any comments about the last two calls?
Well, again, about the safety issue, it's true. I mean, perhaps there's not enough of the distribution of safety equipment to people in communities of color. I know that the police department has given out thousands of bike lights and safety equipment out of the trunks of their cars. One of the committees I chair under the MPO is the Livable Roadways Committee, and we have regular reports from Cutter, the Center for Urban Transportation Research, who does go out into the community and conduct bicycle safety classes. Are they doing enough in communities of color, and are people who live in those communities provided with the safest routes to get where they need to go? I mean, that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother show. But I recently, in the past 2 years, the Florida Department of Transportation put up what's called a mid-block crossing, complete with safety lights and flashers and beacons, because of a young girl who was killed. A little tiny girl was killed crossing Bush Boulevard to get to the convenience store and gas station across the street with her not even much older sister. So our communities of color and lower socioeconomic advantages, are they being provided with safe crossings, with sidewalks, with all of the strategies to keep people safe on their bicycles? Because I mean, it is true, cars are very expensive to own in the state of Florida. There's been lots written about how expensive car insurance is, or gasoline, or the car payments just to even buy a vehicle here in the city of Tampa. So more people are turning to bicycling to get around in communities, in white communities. I mean, I see more people using bikes downtown. We have the Coast Bike Share. More people are using bikes to get around than getting their car even out of the parking lot. They may have driven to work, but they don't want to drive to their meeting that they have to go to, so they'll take the bike, and they'll take the bike to the meeting they have to go to. So as we see more people using bikes as a way to save on car costs, maybe we'll see a shift in how many citations are being given out to people across the board. But predominantly, it's people of color and lower socioeconomic means who are using bicycles not just to get around because it's a convenience, but using bicycles because it's the only way they can get around. And I can tell you, in my neighborhood, I see droves of people on bicycles, and it's not out of convenience. It's out of necessity. One of the kids down the street from me actually got hit by a car, and it destroyed his bicycle, and he didn't have one, which meant he didn't have a way to get to his part-time job after school at McDonald's or to get to his football practices. And we had developed, a bit of a relationship, and he knocked on my door and asked me for help. And we happened to have an extra bicycle that we weren't using in the garage, and we gave it to him. And, he cleaned it up and oiled the chain up and, fixed the tires and put air in them. And now he has a way to get around. But he's, an example of a high school kid who has no other means of getting to where he needs to go other than a bicycle because his parents can't afford to buy him a car.
Well, on the subject of that, it's not just people in poor and black communities that are riding bicycles, even though they are predominantly the ones that are getting ticketed. There's a text that comes in from the 813 area code who says, I've seen numerous transactions in the southeast Hillsborough area that people were in cars and in bikes, and he's talking about drug transactions, or she, I think. And so this is maybe more affluent in the South and East County, although it's kind of rural as well, and definitely whiter community. And so there's lots of transactions, lots of drug transactions is what I'm reading into that. Yet the Times found that there weren't as many bicycle citations there.
Well, were the Times looking at all of Hillsborough County? They were just looking at the city of Tampa.
Just the city of Tampa, good point, yeah.
So, Hillsborough County is a big place, and in rural communities it is more difficult for the police to be on the street and be all over the crime that is happening. And again, I would assume that if there's an uptick of drug transactions in a particular area, say, in a neighborhood in Riverview, that the sheriff's office is going to, quote unquote, target, since that's a word we've been using today, they're going to target that neighborhood for drug transactions, whether they take place on a bicycle or whether they take place out of a car window. But you have to draw a boundary. So if crime is happening in one area, you're going to shift your resources to that area. So whoever is conducting those transactions in that area is going to get caught in that web. It's going to be, folks who are engaging in the drug trade, no matter what color they are.
We'll go now to the phones. We have Nancy in St. Petersburg. Hi, Nancy. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted, does anybody remember what country we live in? This is the United States of America, and we are supposed to be, in a court of law. It's not on the streets, but that would be nice too. Innocent until proven guilty. So when you have this dragnet that includes people that you are suspicious of, that could be you or me, who would want to say, well, yeah, but I have nothing to hide, and all that stuff. And which doesn't mean a thing, because we're forgetting that could be anybody, you see. And for any reason, and it is just wrong, to have to say, for somebody to say to you, papers, please, when you are just walking down the street or riding your bicycle down the street. It is very wrong for this to happen. And what do we want to, what is it? To make the policeman's job easier? He is just violating your constitutional rights all over the place. Does not anybody realize that? It all started when there were these blanket drug things, like looking at your urine to see if you were taking drugs. What is so? And but they did that, and so that allowed this kind of thing to start happening. If they could just use good police practices. If they've got somebody in mind, they get a search warrant. You don't go doing this to people who are just on the street in our country. Okay? This is stuff that happens in other dictatorial countries, not in our country. And it has just been the 4th of July. All this other stuff has been happening. We should understand this by now. We don't deserve our freedom if we don't want to fight for it. For God's sake, somebody talk about that.
Nancy, thanks for that call. You sound very passionate about this.
Well, that's the reason why we asked for, well, the city asked for the Department of Justice and the Research Center to come in and look at whether or not there is a civil rights issue. Some people say that this isn't the right group because the community policing division of Department of Justice isn't going to look at civil rights. Well, from what I understand, well, yeah, they are. I mean, that's why they want to talk to the community. That's why they talk to, when they conducted interviews at TPD, they talk to people in training, they talk to people in records, to look and see if there are civil rights violations, and if there are, then we need to take that into consideration. And again, that's one of the reasons why, as a city council member, I went to that press conference, and a reason why Councilman Reddick had Chief Ward come and talk about this policy to highlight that we won't tolerate the civil rights violations. But, you know, again, if you're going to stop a particular type of crime, speeding, they set up speed traps all the time, and they pull people over randomly. There might be 4 people speeding, but you know they're only able to catch 1 or 2 of them. They're going to pull you over and ask for your license and registration. I mean, you when you're fighting a crime, you know, I can see both sides of it. You don't want to give the police powers to individuals who are consistently violating your civil rights, but you also don't want to live in a society where we're you know, so rampant with crime because every tactic the police uses is targeting somebody.
What do you think the process will look like? So we have the meeting tomorrow night, and have they told you when they might have a report back or something?
No, I haven't gotten a timeline yet.
All right, well, let's move on to Bruce in St. Petersburg. Hi, Bruce.
Country, cops are killing black people and other people of color. This is a fact. Why should the community trust police when their relationship with the police has been negative, not positive? And it's a reality. The reality is that and I'm with the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign. I'm a minister. I work with low-income and homeless populations all the time. I'm also a licensed addictions counselor. And the reality is that drug addiction and drug sales is more predominant in the white community, not just statistically, not just numerically, but statistically. Police are targeting black communities, not those communities that I just mentioned. They're not. Even when the crime statistics are higher there, they don't target them. The fact is that crime has went down in this country, and yet we still have a brutal police kind of conduct that happens in low-income and black communities. I see it with the homeless community all the time. They're targeted simply because they're homeless. This is what's going on, and to try to play both sides of the fence, no disrespect, council person, but you're playing both sides of the fence. You can see both sides. The police have the power. The people that are being oppressed by them don't. It's your job to side with the people, not the police. So seeing both sides is ridiculous. And I think that this show is an important topic, but it's sad that you don't have people on like Connie Burton, who's a tireless advocate for the black community, who knows the community better than any council person could ever hope to, and Reverend McKenzie. These are the people that should be helping decide what's happening. And the only way this is going to change is if there is community control of the police in black communities. And the police have to live there, not just commute. My kids live in a house, and right down the street from where they live is an officer that polices in Plant City. They live in St. Petersburg. What kind of policing system is this? They have no vested interest in the community because they don't live there. If they lived there, they would police differently. This is nothing more than racial profiling. This bicycle stuff that other people talked about earlier.
Thank you for making that point, Bruce. We're almost out of time.
Well, in the interest of time, I just want to address the playing both sides of the fence. I mean, part of what we do as council members is you have to see every side in order to distill the information and fall on the side of what's right and what's wrong. So I don't see it as straddling the fence or playing both sides. I see it as I'm gathering information. I can see both sides. And at the end of the day, when this report comes back, our focus is going to shift. Is this right or is this wrong? And they won't be straddling the fence.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on WMNF MidPoint today, Lisa Montelione.
Thank you very much for having me, Sean.
Our guest today has been Tampa City Council member Lisa Montelione. I'm Sean Kinane, the host of WMNF News MidPoint Monday. Thanks to everyone who called, emailed, and texted today. If you'd like to continue this conversation, you can leave a voicemail with your thoughts, and I'll play it on the air. Call me at 813-238-8001, extension 114, and I'll play your message on the air. You can also join the conversation online at WMNF.org/news or Facebook or Twitter at WMNF News. Thanks to Charlie Cushing for engineering and Patty Perkey for answering phones. Stay tuned now for great music, beginning with It's the Music on WMNF Tampa.